Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and these are my uncollected thoughts on Black Lives Matter. First of all, what is BLM, to give it its abbreviation? Well, it's an organisation that was founded in 2013 to protest against controversial police killings of black people in the United States. There have been a number of very high-profile cases. So people have noticed a pattern of over decades of many black people being killed by the police in disputed circumstances, and these slayings of black people were disproportionately high, much higher than their percentage in the American population. The trouble is, there are lies, damned lies, and statistics. I read a lot of figures bandied about, and I'm not quite sure what to believe. I don't think anyone disputes the bottom line is that black people are much more likely to be killed than white people by the police. So one of them is that the African American community is 12% of the population in the United States, and 25% of those killed by the police. Now, that is a big difference. It's not as enormous as one might be led to believe, but possibly that statistic is wrong. Now we could say, well, how about their interactions with the police in the situation? So this is one of the things that's a flaw in BLM, and I suppose it's in opponents, is we can't we can't judge individual cases by statistics. Well, we'll let you have that one because you didn't kill that many whites, so that's okay because you're evening up the score with black people, or black people even in the situation if the police were right to kill somebody, well, that's got to be wrong because you've killed too many black people this year. Now, it ought to go without saying, the ideal number of people being killed is zero. We don't want anyone to be killed of any race, whether they're or police officers or people who are not in the police. However, I recognise that there are situations where the police are obliged to shoot people, and that usually kills the person. There are bank robberies and hostage situations. I've heard from an American Democrat blogger, I can't remember the chubby chap's name, that black people are 7 times more likely to be killed unarmed by the police. Unarmed. Why would you kill someone who's unarmed? If you knew them to be unarmed, surely you shouldn't kill them. You should use less than lethal force. Just threaten them. Even armed. Let's remember, so those who are the most unabashed critics of BLM tend to be gun rights activists. People have a right to carry a firearm in the United States. Even black people have to say that to the anti-BLM crowd. So the fact someone has a firearm is no excuse for killing them. If they're threatening to shoot it, already have started shooting people, all right, that's different. So all lives matter. That's the riposte, and there's another organisation. Yes, of course, that's axiomatic. We don't want people to be killed. And we could go into crime statistics, say, oh yes, but African Americans commit more than their fair share of crime. Obviously, no ethnicity's got a fair share of crime. Ideally, there'd be no crime, but come on, get real. So the police interact with them in these controversial situations. So I think you obviously got to take it on a case-by-case basis and look at each situation on its merits. You know, Trayvon Martin and other high-profile and contentious killings. The guy was shot dead in Ferguson. So anyway, so some people say, oh yes, but not that many black people are killed by the police in the United States. It's in the scores per year. All right, that's true. And compared to all deaths, they say several million deaths a year in the United States, mostly natural causes. This is a drop in the ocean. Yes, it is, but that's not the point. Natural death is going to happen anyway. There are a few accidents like car accidents. This is arguably human malice. If a police officer deliberately kills someone with not believing they have a good reason why they must kill someone, that person's an imminent threat to others, then that is murder. So is police murder going on? I think it is. Not very often. Okay, I don't want to disparage the police as a whole. But the police, they reflect the society from which they're drawn. Is there anti-black sentiment in the United States? There certainly is. There are anti-black hate groups. Even quite mainstream politicians or pundits like Tomi Lahren have made anti-black comments. So people with this attitude, they do get into the police. The police try and screen them out, not always successfully. It's not as flagrant as it used to be, anti-black bigotry. Anyway, another reason is we expect a higher standard of conduct from the police. They are trusted by the public with upholding the law, and therefore it behoves them to set an example. Ultimately, the police exist to protect us and not to kill us. Now, I realise sometimes a person's imperiling others, and the police might be obliged to act, but there are situations the police have been killing people when it really wasn't a last resort. When someone's been running away or someone's unarmed, things like that. So it revolted me when Tomi Lahren said that the BLM is like the KKK. BLM wants something that's far from equality. Is she for real? I mean, she's off her rocker to be saying that. She says she supported BLM originally. Really? Did she? Because she had a media profile from almost 5 years ago when it was founded. I don't recall her saying anything remotely positive about BLM. Why is she so against Black Lives Matter on the basis of one slogan, fry 'em like bacon? Well, that was never a BLM slogan that I know. You can go on the website. I don't know any official BLM literature that's put out like that. There might be people who went on protests who carried that sign or banner, but how many people are involved in BLM? I don't know about official members, but have been on protests. It must be hundreds of thousands in the United States alone. By the way, the BLM exists in Canada, the United Kingdom, and so forth. So really, that is no evidence. There's no reason to be against BLM. And she mentioned 5 police officers murdered by someone in Dallas who apparently agreed with BLM's cause, but the BLM is not answerable for that. They did not condone that crime. And just because he agrees with the BLM, that doesn't make the BLM wrong in its primary aim, which is to stop black people being unjustly killed by the police. And she says, well, if this man murdered people and he supports BLM, then BLM bears responsibility. It's been pointed out, if a Christian does evil and says he's doing it for Christianity, that does not convict all Christians. That's guilt by association. That's unfair. She's a constitutionalist, as she would say. She should know. So, this is the difference. The Ku Klux Klan exists to commit murder. BLM exists to prevent it. Now, if Tomi Lahren cannot comprehend the difference, she should not be speaking in public. The KKK was obviously a terrorist organization and committed thousands of murders from its inception in the 1860s. Still exists. This last murder was about 20 years ago, but it's still glorifying these gruesome ritual murders, violence before interracial relationships. They were against love, put it like that. They were. They couldn't actually have slavery, wanted something as close as possible to slavery to exist, terrorizing Hispanic people as well. Socialists, well, Tomi Lahren might agree with them on that one. Anyone who wasn't white, they were anti-Catholic, all the rest of it. And Tomi Lahren puts them in the same bracket with BLM. She's out of her mind. I'm sure think she's that stupid. It must be sheer malice. So we can rescue her intelligence only at the cost of her integrity. But she doesn't perceive any distinction there. So there are whites in Black Lives Matter. It's not a racially exclusive organization. And 40% of white Americans say they agree with BLM. There are no black people in the KKK who exists to oppress the black community. I saw a Black Lives Matter demonstration in London. Now, sometimes I disagree with BLM, and there's a time, let's say Mark Duggan, where I believe the police were obliged to shoot, and there was a court case about that, and there was no wrongful death. That's how the jury ruled. But there are other times when I think they're on the money. But this organization is unfairly disparaged. Surely reducing police violence is a laudable aim. And as I say, I know that the police are sometimes compelled to use force, including killing people occasionally. I'll not be mealy-mouthed and say lethal force or deadly force. Killing, that's what it is. But it shouldn't be too trigger-happy. I think, obviously, British policing tends to act with far less force, sometimes too little. There was a fascinating statistic came out a few years ago. Police in the United Kingdom killed fewer people in 100 years than the American police killed in 1 month. I'll say it again. The British police killed fewer people in 100 years than American police did in 1 month. Now, all right, take into account that the United States has got 5 times the population. So, all right, make that 20 years. 20 years versus 1 month. Well, how many months are in 20 years? 240. So still, the per capita rate of killing people by the police in the United States is 240 times higher. 240 times higher. Which would be better? Which rate of police killing people? I think I don't even need to point that out. So I realise there are more guns in the US, but people like Tomi Lahren say, oh yeah, but guns save people. Well, they don't. It's staring you in the face. There we are. Whilst they do save some people, they cause far more deaths than the death they seem to prevent. Well, that's it. Those are my final thoughts on BLM.